Hello, my name is Ector, and in today's build tutorial we're gonna learn how to build gardens. So let's get straight into it. Right, first of all, we're going to look at a few different ideas for how to do gardens. Lots of kind of little things that you can add to your own kind of garden. I'm not going to show you how to build one garden per se because all gardens are different. But I think one thing that I think every garden should have is a water feature. Okay, so this is a very simple thing. I think most gardens will be probably small unless you're doing like a big estate garden, in which case you might have a bigger kind of water fountain even. But a small garden, I think it just needs just a small little water feature. Something like this is nice, and I think water lily pads are always a nice thing to add. One thing I try to make sure is that when I add them, is that I try to get them so that they all face a different direction, just to make it look a little bit kind of more natural looking. But it's up to you. But a water feature is always a nice thing to add. So anyway, onwards, I've kind of added like little gates to each one just in case you want to add a gate to your garden. And the first one I came up with is very simple, just a hedge kind of entrance. That is all very simple with some brick at the end. Nice and simple, nothing too complicated. Then we go in and we have, first of all, I like using podzol to put flowers on because I think it looks more like dirt than the kind of dirt we have does. So, you know, that's the kind of dirt we have usually. I don't like that. I think podzol looks a lot nicer. Kind of really looks like soil to me. So a very simple setup is just some podzol with some flowers. Flowers are very important in gardening, obviously, and with a little bit of hedge behind it, and that is just. You can use any of the kind of leaves. I think jungle leaves work really nicely as well. They're a very different kind of texture, but I've just used oak for all of this, just so you're aware. But you can use whatever leaf you want. So that is a very simple kind of little setup. And then here, I've just changed it. I've added the oak slab trim, just like I have here, just you know. Just another kind of little thing. You might want this at the edge of your house, maybe, at the edge of the garden. And this is another design similar to that one where we just have fences. I quite like this one myself. I think it looks quite nice. That I would put very much around the edge of the house. I think that looks quite nice. So that could even be, you know, this could be the street here. I think that would work really nicely. Up here we have a slightly altered version of that. So we have the hedge in front, and then we have some podzol, and then some more podzol at the back with like a bigger hedge. This would be a bigger garden, you know. You could do this for a bigger garden. I put fences here, just, I don't know, it looks like some kind of wooden kind of trellis fencing, which I thought looked quite nice in a garden. I thought would work quite well. And then on this side it's the same kind of thing here, but instead of having, you know, another kind of a neater hedge, that is to me like a neat hedge, we have just kind of bushes. And bushes are quite hard to do in Minecraft. What I discovered in doing this is I think it works well if you add like some rows of leaves. So rather than having just some leaves like, you know, like that, and you don't have anything behind it, you can, if you play like I do, you can very much see through that, and that doesn't to me look as good. So what I think is a good thing to kind of do is really kind of add to the leaves like that, and that to me feels much more like a proper bush. So you add a lot of levels, a lot of kind of deep levels. Now leaves aren't that hard to get hold of, they're a very cheap commodity, so you shouldn't have too much. Then all you need to do is kind of make it look as kind of nice as possible, and that means to me, the way I do that is that I don't like too many kind of corners, so that is maybe not as nice, but then this is not nice, so that is probably better like that. And you just kind of keep building and keep adding things until you kind of get something that you like. See, that is already a bit better. Something like that. That's not too bad. Maybe that corner's not that nice. There we go. Something like that. And you just keep adding. So that is one row done. Let's go on to the next row. Here we have a different type of gate design. So very simple again. Just some bricks with iron bars, and here I've kind of just added the iron bars, and I've kind of added like this little corner so it makes it look more like a gate. You could even do it on both sides like that, so it really does look like the gates kind of meet in the middle. Kind of up to you, but I thought that was a nice little design. Now lawns are obviously a big thing in some gardens, and the easiest kind of best way to kind of do a really nice lawn is to use clay instead of grass. So we just have green hardened clay and lime hardened clay. Very simple, just alternating stripes. You could also do like a football pitch like this. These are often used. You could also change it up and add carpet instead of one of the colours, or you could do both with carpet. I do think the clay works a lot better, or you could add just grass and clay, or both. All of these options kind of work. Carpet is obviously good for hiding lighting. That's something you might want to think about. It's kind of hard sometimes to hide a lot of lighting in the gardens, but using carpet is definitely one way to do it. Now, another one is obviously some gardens will have the odd tree. Now, I think if you have a small garden, you kind of want to go for small trees. Don't make huge trees. The kind of trees need to be in proportion to the size of the garden. And then what I've just added is very simple benches. If you've got a nice garden, you're going to want to sit in it. So I've added just a couple of benches there with some trees. That is a very, very simple setup. And if you added that with, some of the designs that we saw here, maybe at the back here, you could easily make a lovely little garden from those. But onwards to the next one. There we go. This entrance, I really like this entrance actually. This is kind of maybe for a bigger garden, slightly more kind of to the house. A bigger house deserves a bigger garden. So you might have something like this for a bigger garden. Again, very simple, just, I've kind of started the same kind of framework, with some bricks here and iron bars like that, and then just added a little roof, just a small little roof. So if we go through here, and yeah, you can see I've opted to choose different path designs. So here we've just got the natural grass. Here I've actually used the path block that is now in Minecraft, which I do like. I do think you should be able to make use of that. And here I've gone for the gravel path, which I do think is I think works really well in gardens. Gravel. I always tend to use gravel. I think it's one of the times when gravel works really well. So here I've added a different type of a hedge design, and I think this works really well as well. So we have here just a kind of box shape of the leaf. And then we just, again, podzol. I really like podzol. Works really well as soil. And then flower design. So you have some options with flower design. Now, unfortunately, in vanilla, you're not able to kind of group together in one block a few flowers, which is a shame. It would look so much nicer. But what I've done here, your options kind of go, you have all of one color, which actually I do think works really well. I do think it works well. Your other option is, just go through maybe the same flower, and tulips are the easiest one to do this with. And I think actually maybe the only one you can do this with, because there's different colors of tulips. So just alternating a pattern. You've got that, and then lastly you've just got flowers, basically just in non-repeating variety. I quite like, again, it depends on the house. Maybe yours is a bit more rustic, in which case you might want something a little bit more reflecting that, which I would go non-alternating. But if you have a nicer house, maybe a bigger kind of house with a garden that, needs to reflect that, then I would kind of go one color. I think it really works. Or maybe alternating color if you have a big enough space in which the pattern can repeat itself. I think that would work really well. So, on the other hand, if you have a smaller garden or what I would call a posh garden, where maybe you don't want kind of trees that are like this, that are a bit unkempt, so that would be maybe a more rustic one. This would be maybe more of a manor kind of garden. Just having a fence with some leaves. I prefer three kind of leaves. You could maybe do 4 like that as well. I think that works. But to me, 2 does not work. I think that looks a little bit too little. But that's a really nice way to kind of simulate a small tree. I think that does really quite nicely, just with some grass around. And what I tend to do, especially in creative, but in survival as well, is rather than just bone meal everything, what you get is often you get a lot of grass. And I kind of end up having to kind of go around and take some grass away just to make it look a little bit more palatable to look at. It's just get a load of grass and then place it individually. I think that is a lot easier actually. So, and then the last thing, I kind of did this in conjunction with that. So we have here a tree just poking out, which actually I do quite like. I think you could put a few of these dotted around the garden just on their own, and I think that would work quite nicely, maybe even as an entranceway as well. And then just this, so rather than having like a line, you could easily do like a little section like that with some flowers in, and I think that works really quite nicely as well. Now on to the last section. Another gate, very simple wall. We use cobblestone walls, and then here we have a cool little trick that you can do with walls and fence gates, which is that if you put a line of 3 fence gates like this with some walls, what you can see is that these two connected to the walls, they kind of go down a little bit, and that kind of creates a nice little kind of arch, which I think looks really, really lovely. So there you go, that's a little thing. Now, one thing I think in gardens works really well is paving stones. So paving stones, you can obviously use pressure plates. Now, the one thing about paving stones is you want to create a path with them, is that you can hear them. You can hear them really quite easily. So this is maybe more just for an aesthetic kind of look that you might use this, but I do think they look quite nice. And we've got some stone pressure plates. Obviously, you could use gold and iron, but I think these two work the best. Now, since I think, is it 1.9 or 1.10? I can't remember. Fences, not fences, wooden trapdoors can be stood without any blocks attached, which looks, I think, really cool, and it looks like a trellis. Which are obviously used in gardens a lot. The one kind of shame is that you can't actually put anything on the block just in front of it. Now, you could obviously kind of put, you could do it like that, but it kind of, I don't know, I don't think it works as well. You could do it like that, and actually that you could maybe do it the other way around. In fact, that is probably a better thing. So here, you could actually put some flowers. So actually, let's try some of that. Yeah, I quite like that. I think that works quite nicely. So that is an option there for you. What I think here, I really like this little flower bed. This is my favourite flower bed. I think this works really well, and it's just slabs. And again, we have the podzol, the lucky podzol around there, and with some flowers in. I think that is the nicest kind of flower bed that I've come up with. To me, I don't know why, that just does it for me. And lastly, we have obviously the rose bush. I think rose bushes and is it lilacs? I can't remember. What's the other two tall one? Oh, the peony, of course. I think work really nicely as a kind of hedge, just like a row of them. I think works well. You could even add, obviously, you could add some leaves at the back. Come on, there we go. Come on, there we go. Just to reinforce that, I think that looks really nice. I think you could easily do that, and I would say either use a lot of them like this, like all in a row, or use them sparingly, kind of just dotted around, adding colour. Don't kind of go halfway in between, because I think that will look a little bit messy. The other thing, which I think is a really cool trick, and I did not come up with this, is using armour stands in between, which really does look like trellis. And the way you kind of do that, if I can I get one of these? No. Let's just grab one of these quickly. Where are you? There we go. The way you do this, it's very simple. You put your bush down first, then you kind of come up like this, put a block on top, add your armor stand, and then just knock that out, and it just falls into the same block. So that's how you do that. And then lastly, just as a kind of another kind of variant on the hedge, is using anvils. Using anvils like that, I think that does work really well. It works lovely, but it is very expensive. If you don't have an iron farm, this might not be an option to you. But there you have it, some ideas to make lovely gardens. I think all of these things you could add. To your garden to make it look really lovely. So I hope that has helped. I hope you've learned some things about your own garden. I hope this video has been helpful to you. If it has, a like or comment would be very lovely of you. Would be very much appreciated. And of course, make sure to subscribe to stay up to date with all of my videos, all of my tutorials, and all of my Let's Plays. That would be lovely too. As for me, I've been Ector. This has been How to Build a Garden tutorial, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.